here. We've got folks at the with the Public Works Department that aren't located in this building, the police station, library, et cetera. We've got 13 employees here. And that's even on days when the clerk's office is closed. I think that a lot of people seem to think that we are only staffed 3 days a week. That is absolutely not true. We have our staff here 5 days a week. And it might be surprising, but there's a lot of things that our staff need to complete that are above and beyond servicing the public. And so we do have people here 5 days a week, even though the office may not be open. We have 10 offices. Please do not take that to mean rooms. We have 10 offices, including the town clerk's office, many that are shared spaces without proper walls. There's no audio privacy. It's difficult to have group conversations, and they're not ergonomic or efficiently laid out. We have council chambers, which as of last week is here. We've been kind of bopping around a lot. This is working well for the space, but as you can see, we've got 4 air conditioners going. Hopefully the temperature stays comfortable in here. We also have storage rooms on the first floor. We have 1 conference room on the first floor, which is not really sufficient. We probably could use another smaller conference room. And we also have vault and record storage, but we don't have enough space for that. So due to the lack of enough secure storage, we've got a lot of things that are stored in unsecured areas, which is not really where we want to be. So hopefully that just level sets on what happens in this building for those of you who might not be aware. We're also kind of brainstorming on some ideas on how to get more information out to the public as to what happens in this building. What do all the little rooms look like in the offices that I referred to, the bathrooms, because I'm sure many of you have not ever seen those and don't really know what exists in this building, really probably beyond the clerk's office in this room. What we know with absolute certainty, and it's really only one thing today. We know that the current condition of this building is not a viable long-term solution. And we definitely need to do something about it fairly soon. This is just a list of several of the issues that we're aware of with this building, some of which are currently being addressed. Over the past several months, we've allocated $80,000 of taxpayer money that was not originally budgeted for to update our boilers and our heating system. So that's in the works. However, it's on pause right now because in order for PGAGN to continue the work, we have to update our chimney lining and repoint the brickwork on the chimney, which we just last night, the council approved about $10,000 to do that work. So boilers are on pause, but the chimney work to be done, and we'll get back to the boilers. I think everything will work out to have it done by the time winter rolls around again. We also know that our windows need to be replaced. One of the windows, I'm not sure which one, recently just like fell out of the wall recently. So we're in the process of gathering quotes for the windows. Other more urgent issues on the exterior, we've got crumbling facade. We also have a very fussy elevator, particularly in the winter time. And if the elevator were to go, that really poses some challenges for us because all of our operations are on the upper floors. And then some other known issues here. So really want to hit home the point. This is all we know so far. This is all we've decided is that we got to do something. No other decisions have been made as to what path forward we're taking. We're at the beginning of this process. And as we move forward, we have some guiding principles. Our goal is to make an informed and educated decision about what to do with this building. And we have invited you all here this evening because one of those guiding principles is to understand what our residents think, what you want, what do you feel about this building. That is one of our primary guiding principles. But we also have a fiscal responsibility to you as taxpayers to understand the cost associated with this project. We also want to make data-driven decisions by gathering data and information from experts as we move forward in this process. So I'll be referring back to these guiding principles at several points throughout, but just so you know, these are the things that we're keeping in mind as we move forward. I also want to level set on what has happened so far. And everything that has happened so far is on this slide. So if you have heard about something else that is not on the slide, it did not happen, okay? First, in 2021, so this is a while ago, we had the town hall appraised. At the time, the building appraised for about $1.5 million. This is a while ago. I'll admit, I think this is one that as we move forward in this process, we'll need to get an update. Last fall, the council met to talk about town hall and what we wanted to do. And there was consensus across all of us that we had nowhere near enough information to even like entertain the topic yet. So we agreed that we needed to move forward and have an assessment done. So we authorized the town manager to put together a RFP so we could find out more information. That RFP was open in January. We received 3 submissions and we opted to interview 2 of those submissions. Port City Architecture and Haley Ward. We had an interview panel that completed interviews in mid-February. The interview panel included our town manager, Tim, assistant manager, Jennifer, and Denise Clavette, who is our economic developer, as well as myself and Counselor Siri. After the interviews, that interview panel recommended that we move forward with Port City to complete that assessment for us. And then the council voted unanimously to award that to Port City. And then we waited a while Port City did their thing. And in May, at the end of May, Port City shared their presentation and their assessment with us. I will be going into that in more detail in a moment. But that basically brings us to today. We're at our first public hearing. Notice this says public hearing number 1, which implies that there's going to be more, okay? This is the first time we're reaching out for input and it will not be the last. What did Port City do? What did we ask of them? So the scope of the work for the RFP was to conduct a municipal town hall facility study and needs assessment. And specifically, we wanted to request an evaluation of the current building and its viability for renovation and what that cost might look like, as well as the cost to build a new municipal building on town-owned land at another location. There's been lots of questions about why are these the only 2 options? Why are we only considering these 2 things? In order for us to move forward and really make educated decisions, we have to start somewhere and react to something. So we chose to kind of start with these 2 opposite ends, extreme ends of the spectrum, to gather initial points of information. So we can then figure out what other questions do we need to ask? What other information do we need to gather? What other public input do we want? So please know that this is going to be an iterative process. And just because these are the 2 things that we're asking you about this evening does not mean that those are the only 2 options on the table. We might land on one of those, we might land somewhere in the middle. But in order for us to really get valuable, meaningful information from the public, we needed to give you specific questions. Because if we put out a very, very open-ended, what do you want to do with town hall question from, all of our residents, well, it would be so difficult to sift through that and come up with some conclusions. So we're intending to ask specific questions, see what you think about those, and then we'll iterate and work through this process. So I know that a lot of you had concerns about that specifically and why it's just these 2 questions. I hope that clears it up. And I hope that if anything happens this evening, you all walk away knowing that we're at the beginning of the process and you will be a part of it. So what did Port City do? They spent time with our staff, they met with our building committee, and they hired several subcontractors to complete their evaluation. They spent a lot of time here at Town Hall on 9 different occasions. They hired Allied Cook Construction to complete an engineering evaluation. Allied Cook is the company or the construction firm that completed the police station for us. There was a complete electrical evaluation completed by Swift Current Engineering Services and an air handling evaluation by Mechanical System Inc. MSI. I think they're out of Salem, New Hampshire. And they also met with the building committee. After doing all that, they delivered a few things to us. They delivered a very directional cost estimate. These are estimates. These are not set in stone numbers. They're, again, a starting data point for us to start to work through this process. So they gave us a directional estimate for renovation for the entire building and a directional estimate for a new facility. They also gave us a programming matrix, which is just kind of like how much space do we actually need given what work is happening in Town Hall on a regular basis. And then they also did give us an architectural design for a potential new building. So those are all of the deliverables that we got back from Port City. So I think there's some key pieces of information that came back from that are a great starting point for us to begin this process. Again, referring back to those guiding principles that I mentioned, I view Port City and the assessment that we got from them as our fiscal responsibility because we got cost estimates as to what this stuff looks like. And also the data-driven decision piece. We have some data from Port City and we're checking that 3rd box by soliciting public opinion here this evening. And we're also gathering emails from folks as well. So some of the key data points that we learned from Port City, they confirmed a lot of the issues we thought we had, and they've identified some new ones, unfortunately. We have a better understanding of how much space we actually need to have a fully functioning, well-functioning, safe, secure town hall operation. And that's roughly between 11 to 12,000 square feet. For context, each floor of town hall is about 7,000 square feet. They also provided an estimated cost to renovate the entire building. And we know that it's significantly more expensive than building a new facility, and I'll speak to that a little bit more. There's a good reason for that. They also provided us an estimate on what it would look like to renovate one floor of this building. That would be slightly more expensive than building brand new. Again, I'll cover the reasons why in a moment. However, that one floor is, as I said, about 7,000 square feet. Ideally, we need 11 to 12. So that's obviously not enough space for what we need. But it does open up, again, this is the iteration piece. What about 2 floors? What would it look like if we were to renovate 2 floors? Because that would be enough space given the assessment done here. So we're really just starting and iterating throughout this process. So to touch on why renovating would be so expensive, is that there is a pretty long list of mandatory items that would need to be completed if we were to do any work inside. So as soon as a hammer hits a wall, there's a list of things that we have to complete for the entire building in order to get the entire building up to code, whether our intention is to just do 1 floor or all 3. That includes getting us up to speed on the Americans with Disabilities Act. We don't have a single ADA bathroom. Our stairwells are not ADA compliant. I'm missing other ones, but that's a big one. Unified Building Code, National Fire Code, Life Safety Code. All of these things have to happen, and I'll say these are the not sexy things. This is like the exterior. This is the bones. This is not even touching any functional spaces in the building. So I think that's an important piece of information for us to have and for you to have to know that that's why the estimates for renovating are higher. That doesn't mean it's a deal breaker at all. It's just a piece of information that we have to guide us forward in this decision. So based on this gives us enough information to really start the conversation. The council, we met last night, we had a regular council meeting, and I think we're tentatively planning on meeting in a workshop, not next week, but the week after. We'll get that specific schedule at our meeting on July 11th, I believe. But you all might not be aware, but the Port City presentation, the first time you heard it, it's the first time we heard it. We as councils, we can't discuss anything unless it's in front of you. So we're receiving a lot of the same information as you are, at the same time as you are in some cases. And we have not all had an opportunity to discuss, digest what we're hearing from you all, what we heard from Port City, et cetera. We have not had a single opportunity to do that. And we need to have an opportunity to do that and have a workshop. So now it feels like after this evening, we hear from you all, we've got enough information to react to and kind of like throw out opinions of where do we think we should go from here, et cetera. So again, hitting home the point, we're early in the process, it's going to be iterative. This next slide is sort of like an estimate as to what the process may look like. It is very fluid because again, we're at the beginning of the process. So at some point in the future, notice there's no date here because we don't know when this is going to happen. A decision point, there will be a decision point for the town council to decide where we're going from here. But between now and then, there's a whole lot of things that likely will happen, will need to happen, possibly will happen, et cetera. And this is just a brain dump of some of those things. We're for sure going to have a series of council workshops. We're for sure going to have additional public hearings and public discussions. Kind of toyed around with the idea of doing like a real estate kind of video tour of the building that we can post online so everyone knows what's happening and what everything looks like in the building. Mailers or informal polls, getting more information, looking into funding options. What's the story with insurance? Like, for example, if we were to renovate, is there any considerations there? Environmental considerations. What if we did a phased or a partial renovation? And also probably redoing a town hall appraisal. So hopefully it lands for everyone that there's a lot to happen between now and when a decision is made. The decision has not been made one way or the other at all. And there's a lot of work to happen between now and then. And then after we get to a decision point, whether we're going to build new or renovate or somewhere in between, that's an option. there's a lot of other stuff that needs to happen between when we decide and when construction actually begins. I would like to refresh everyone's memory about the police station and how long that process was. I imagine this will be similar. So in between deciding and when construction is gonna start, I think it makes sense to form a town hall committee made up of counselors and residents. We're gonna have to do architectural design. We're gonna have to secure funding from you and get approval so we can fund and pay for the project. We'll need to hire a project manager. We'll need to do an RFP for construction services. And then depending on where we land, you know, if we opted to build new, we're gonna have to figure out where. That's gonna be a huge process, I'm sure, if that's where we land. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with this building. And in the renovate option, what do we do with staff and town hall and the entire operation in the interim? There's a lot of things that we have to consider as we move forward in this process, but all throughout, we commit to keeping you all informed. I'm gonna speak to that a little bit more in a moment. But and we also expect to have to spend tax dollars to make improvements to town hall in the interim. Just given the condition that it's in, the windows that I mentioned, we know we're gonna have to spend some money here regardless of where our ultimate final decision is. So our commitment to keep you informed. This is a giant team project. And you all are just as much a part of it as we are. And so in order to keep you informed, we're going to commit and do our due diligence to push that information out to you. It's a two-way street, however. So you have to approve the information, share the information in order to stay in the loop. So this isn't created yet, but we're going to create a project page on our town website dedicated to this topic that will include resources, documents, meeting schedules, all the things. I promise it'll be intuitive and easy to follow. We're also going to have regular updates on our council agenda. This is going to be a topic for a very long time, I'm sure. So that'll be a great way to get information, whether you choose to attend our meetings or follow up with our minutes or catch our recordings on YouTube. And then we have a new Facebook page, hopefully everyone's super excited about. And we commit to making posts on our town Facebook page, the town website, put a bulletin board up downstairs for those of you who might not be interested in electronic communication. And then we also have a monthly newsletter where we can include a section on town hall, where we'll share similar information. So if there's any other ideas that anyone has as far as how we can keep you all in the loop as to how things are progressing with this, welcome your suggestions, feel free to reach out. So that's our commitment to you, but we have an ask of you all as well as we begin this process. Please rely only on the things I just listed for your sources of information about town hall. The South Berwick Bulletin is not a source of factual information. It's wildly entertaining. There's great stuff going on there, but it is not where you should go for town hall information. So in order to help us be successful with this project, we please ask those of you who are so interested and invested in coming to this meeting to do what you can to ensure that the right information is being shared. And so if someone asks you what's going on with town hall and you don't know, refer them to these things, refer them to us, to Tim, to whomever. This is like, I cannot hit this point hard enough. We spend so much time putting out fires and addressing issues that are not real and facts that are not not facts, because all of these rumors are swirling. And I'm sure that you would all rather our time be spent focused on the work that's actually happening instead of constantly putting out fires and trying to address various things. So that's our very big ask of you to help us keep things straight. We live in a small town, which is wonderful, but the small town rumor mill is a thing. And we just ask that you help us with that. And also participate and stay informed as we move forward. That's the end of my, well, almost the end of my spiel. Change of topic with shameless plug. We need people for the planning board. Planning board meets the first and third Wednesday of the month. This is a great way to get involved in our community. I would argue, I think it's probably one of the most impactful ways to get involved in our town. I spent some time on the planning board, Jeff did as well. If you have questions on what that might look like, feel free to reach out to either one of us. If you're interested, reach out to Barbara. She'll hook you up with an application and make sure you have an interview set up. We're really looking for people who are able to be impartial, black and white, evaluate applications against our ordinances, and we will offer training. So shameless plug there, let us know if you're interested. And then we'll get to the public hearing. Got some rules of order for the public hearing. We've got a big group here. Happy to have you all here. Want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. But I hope you can appreciate that in order to make this happen in an efficient manner, we've got to have some. So if you have not signed in and you'd like to speak, let me know. I've got the list here. I will be running through the list and calling on people as listed here. When I call on you, if you'll come up to the podium, state your name and address, we need that for the record. Your comments this evening will be compiled with comments that we've received via email, of which there are many. We've received many comments via email. We're not going to be reading those aloud this evening. I just don't think we have time, but we will ensure that all of them are compiled into one document for the minutes for this evening, and they will for sure be reviewed by the entire council. Thank you. Everyone will be given one opportunity to speak and 3 minutes per person. I know that might not seem like enough, but again, I hope everyone understands how early we are in the process of this phase one. There will be more opportunities for public input. We're gonna try not to go after 9 p.m. If for some reason we are approaching the 9 p.m. timeframe, we will absolutely reschedule and pick up where we left off. We want everyone to have an opportunity to speak, and we won't be taking any questions this evening. We really want to focus on public input and what you all think. And lastly, if anyone kind of approaches the territory of disparaging any of us, town staff or citizens, or making any complaints about municipal appointed officials, residents, etc., I'm going to use this gavel. I'm not going to take any of that. And I ask that everyone stay on topic with this question. At this point in the process, again, as I mentioned, we're really starting with these two opposite ends of the spectrum to understand public sentiment on these two. Are you in favor of renovating the existing town hall or building a new town hall, and why? Again, no, this is not the first public hearing. We will ask more detailed, intricate questions as time goes on. This is our starting point. And that's all I have. So we can go ahead and get started with the public hearing. Again, 3 minutes per person. Jeff is going to be our timer. It's going to be when your time is up. And I think Tim's checking on the microphone.
This is a high dynamic microphone. You can hear that I'm
You're fine, you're fine.
talking to you from here. So you don't really need to go like this because it's gonna sound like that. Okay. So if you just stand in front of the microphone and speak to the council, they'll be able to hear you and so will the people back. If you do decide to get up close to the microphone, you do have several songs you can sing for.
Does anyone else need to sign in that's intending to speak? Okay. All right, let's go. Malcolm Kenny, you're number one.
Always.
I know, it seems to be a trend.
Yes, my name is Malcolm Kenny. I live at 52 Agamenticus Road in South Berwick. And first off, I'd like to thank you all for taking on the challenge. It's going to be a busy couple of years, I think. Are you in favor of renovating this existing town hall? That's a pretty tough question. That's a tough question. I'm not in favor of spending another penny on this building. I wish that the money wasn't spent for the renovations on the boilers. If we're going to turn this building over to a contractor to make it a housing unit, we should let that burden go on to those folks. So there's a lot of things that I have questions about, and just to continue on. I think for one thing, start the meetings at 7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. People are just getting home from work. We have a lot of community people traveling to Boston, every place. So that's one thing, is to get the information out. The other thing would be in building a new one on town property, don't wait too late to tell us which town property you're going to put that on. I think that's critical to get the the word out to people in town. Now, I think we have 2 alternate locations, I'm not mistaken. That should be put out quick in order to get the support of doing it. This building's had it, I agree with you all, so. Again, thanks for what you're doing. Everybody, thank you.
All right, this is gonna be a challenge to read the handwriting. Deb, Zach, thank you.
I really would really my time because the question is for the future.
You don't want to speak this evening? Okay, go ahead. No, she don't. Just to confirm, you don't want to speak this evening?
No.
Okay, thank you. Richard Tideman, thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
I live at, my name's Richard Tiedemann, and I live at 68 Vine Street. I'm gonna try and make it quick into 3 minutes or
Okay.
whatever. I come into this room, I don't know a lot about this building, like what conditions it's in. I was talking to John James, and he pointed out there's a rubber roof right above us, so that's a concern that has to be, constantly maintained. I mentioned to him that I proposed that the town council and the manager organize a tour, a very thorough tour of this entire building on the outside and on the inside. And so all these things that need to be addressed are pointed out before we can make any kind of a decision. Because myself, I didn't get involved until I heard, oh my God, they're gonna knock the town hall down. That was the first I heard of it, and I thought, gosh, I drive by here every day. I come here to pay my taxes, I vote in this room. And to me, it looks like everything is okay. I mean, it's not the Ritz, but it looks okay for what it's used for. So that means I don't know. So I need you guys to take me around and show me and show everybody else what it is that needs to be done. And then we can begin to answer those questions. But we can't answer them now because we just don't know. And it seems to me like you guys have been working on this for a while. I'm not saying, and then, finally we hear about it. I know that's your job, and it's a thankless job, and you guys work hard and people call and complain. But this is not the first time that you guys are hearing about this. It's the first time that I'm hearing about it, though. And that's my 3 minutes. Anyway, thank you very much, but I think we should have a tour. Okay, thank you.
All right, Richard Bernier?
I have to go by Rob, I live at 28 Mountain Road.
Okay.
In South Berlin. I've been in the construction industry for 43 years. Work for architectural firms, engineering firms. I'm currently a superintendent building $10 million buildings, building $5 million buildings. I'd like to talk about something that people aren't really talking about. This building is the other building does not currently have a foundation. This one does. So it's got a structure, exterior walls, it's got concrete floors. Has good structure, good base. This is a good bones building. And it's worth taking a deeper look into what it would take to renovate it. I was at the meeting where these renovations were proposed. I saw a plan for the new building. I didn't see any plans for this building. Didn't see any detail in this building. Saw a lot of detail in the new building. I saw a lot of things that were wrong with this building. I saw list after list, ADA code, this has got to be done. We don't have any heat, windows need to be done. Some bricks falling out. Honestly, a lintel's $1,500 to replace. It's not that much. What I'm offering is, I had a conversation with the company that I work for, very reputable company in this area. They are willing to run it through the estimating department. I talked to the president of my company, I talked to the director of pre-construction of my company. And they're willing to run it through the estimating department and try and put some numbers on the existing building. Real numbers. Not guesses, not wants, not all that. You know, they'd like to see the building, they'd like to have a plan of the existing building and try to come up with something. Try to come up with a real solution. Try to find a way that's not gonna be $10 million. I think personally, I've done a lot of renovations in buildings where the people have been in the building. I don't think you need to move out. I got a game plan right now to make all this happen. My 3 minutes is running out. So what I'd really like to do is just gonna pass a bunch of business cards. There you go.
Thank you.
On it work. Our initial proposal is not to charge you guys money. They want to look at this and give a real solution and ideas and costs. What does it cost to replace windows? What does it cost to break them down to a little smaller windows? What does it cost to renovate the floors? What's it cost for a reception desk? We can come up with those numbers for you. And that's all I'm proposing. If you're more interested in that, you're more than happy to talk to you guys offline. You know, this, the first conversation with them and figuring it out, it's not gonna cost anybody anything. But it's a real way to get real numbers, because we need real numbers. We just can't guess this stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Lloyd, Beavers. Hi, Lloyd.
Lloyd Gaber, 72 Woodland Hills. I just want to throw a lot of information from my old brain I can't afford, but are you gonna distribute a packet like of this presentation?
It's gonna be posted online, yes.
Or it's gonna be online?
Yeah.
Not gonna be fake. What's it gonna be online? Where?
It's going to be posted to the town hall project page that I referenced that is in the works.
That's what I want to know so I can study it. More.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Tamara?
Tamara Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. Just one quick comment. If, however we proceed, I'm hoping you might consider another architect, because I don't think our money was well spent on the presentation. I came last night to the economic presentation, and there was a whole lot of emphasis on mixed use. And thinking about this building, I can't decide, do we renovate or do we build new until we get more information? But if mixed use is such a huge thing, wouldn't renovating this town hall 2 floors and then having mixed use also in here, that would allow us to keep the little quaint feel of it, to keep this great hall, to keep the look of it, and to keep the cute little downtown.
Paul Center? No, here you are.
Paul Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. To answer the question, as you said, Mallory, it's super early at this point. There's not a lot of information here. However, for me, I'm sort of leaning towards renovating, but I have very much an open mind because I want to see more information. From what I have understood from Port City, not impressed, not impressed at all. I don't even want to ask how much we paid for that. I would like to see an RFP with some other people come in. This is a large project, long-term project. I think we need to really widen the scope, and instead of having 2 or 3, 3 to 5 to 7, see who wants to bid on it. Let's take a look at the attributes and the abilities and some of the past projects these contractors may have done to see if there's some similar projects that they took on. So Port City, great place to start. Please don't end there. Also, the building, the historic value of the building, the bones of the building, it has a lot of attributes that really work well for us. First of all, the room that we're in now, multiple uses, it's great. To replace this, as you know, would cost a fortune. And then finally, the other thing is, having managed projects in private industry, not construction projects, My concern is how thin are we spreading ourselves? There's this project going on. We have roads and other infrastructure that we do every year. But we also had a great presentation from Sebago Technics. Can we not forget the traffic issue that we have and the dollars and cents that are associated with that? So I'm not saying we should do one or the other, but I'm just urging everyone to keep an open mind. We've got a bunch of plate spinning here. So where do we want to put our money? How quickly do we run into this with our pockets? So I think that it's early on. I like the approach of getting more information, but I would really definitely think that we need more professional people. And so to mirror what the previous speaker said is, if they want to have another company take a look at it free of charge and give some ideas for, who are we to say no? Thank you.
Thank you. Robert from Wichita Road, yes.
My name is Robert Levins, and I live on 262 Wichita Road in South Berwick. I have a lot of experience. I was 40 years as a construction manager, a structural and renovation carpenter. I was the structure manager renovating 5 major buildings in Newburyport over 5 years. They weren't just redressing the space inside, they were rearranging the space inside. My biggest thing with regard to this question is this is where the building belongs. It doesn't belong anywhere else. I think it's premature to talk about putting any building, either a new one, putting anyone in the town hall until we know what we're gonna do, and it's gonna be here. I think it should be here, whether it's this building or not. And I don't think that kind of flies in the face of the economics of the situation. But the way I look at the budget that was proposed by Port City is that $2.5 to $3 million of that estimate of renovating this building is deferred maintenance over the years. There's been nothing spent on this building, and you can't just throw away the building because you didn't do the repairs on it along the way. Insulating this building, most of the heat loss in this building, and much of it is through the roof. Insulate this roof when you put a new rubber roof on it, it's very easy and very cheap. And that's 30% of the heat loss in this building. If you build a new building, yes, there are more windows, but these windows can be tightened up, and these windows can be replaced and be energy efficient. And once you make the windows efficient in this building, there's not much exterior wall left. I agree, there are a lot of windows that probably wouldn't be in a new structure for energy efficient standard. But I also think that the numbers for how much this building and property is worth are wrong. I think the budgets in the Port City thing for renovating this building are wrong. I think some of those renovations can be deferred. They don't have to be all done at once. I don't believe that building a new town building anywhere else should be anticipated. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Robinson? No, okay. Okay. David McDermott?
David McDermott, 60 Knock Road. I've already bored you folks with my opinion before. I'm certainly in favor of keeping the town hall right where it is. It's where it belongs in the village. The open space of the school is perfect for everything that happens in this community. I had a little prepared to talk here, but a lot of these people have already spoken to the question that I want to address. I don't want to pile on Port City, because I think they did what they could probably contract to do. town meeting or our council meeting where they did a presentation. And I went there knowing that they only spent, as far as I can tell, less than a month doing all of this. They had their first meeting with the building committee in March, laying out what they were going to do. By the end of March, they had it all laid out. And it's really important where you guys start. And that's a little worried me, a little bit, Mallory, when you go through all that, because the starting point seems to be pretty much negative toward this building. At least that's the perception that I got at the town meeting. And because of that, a group of us got together. We were very concerned about speed and the direction that it's going. I appreciate that, and hope that that's not going to happen. But we drafted a letter, bringing out a lot of the points some of these other people brought out about the costs and what could be done. And in just a couple of days, as you know, we got 160 people to sign on to that letter after reading, keeping the town hall here. And only a few, literally a handful of people for various reasons didn't want to sign this letter. I don't know, that's certainly not an accurate survey or anything at the town, but it does show that I think there's huge sentiment in this town for keeping the building here, looking at alternatives. If you want to be creative, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to be creative, and get some other people in here, I think we can save our town hall in the village. Thank you very much.
Rena Lasso?
I'm yielding my time to John Novak.
Okay. I'm gonna, for that situation, I'm just gonna tag it for later. Is that okay? Speak later. Mike Lasso?
A community is defined by its character. And South Berwick is an exceptional community, and I think we all believe that exceptionalism is part of who we are. We're exceptional in many, many different ways. And a test like this is a method of defining exceptionalism. Now, old buildings by themselves are sustainable. You can't get more sustainable than an old building. And this old building, yeah, it's got problems, but we know what the problems are. They're easy to define, and I thought the gentleman over there said it very, very well. It's got good bones. I really believe that a design process that was exceptional, a design process that was creative, a design process that really looked at these old bones and fixed it. The walls don't need insulation. They just put good windows in the walls. Because the walls, if you do the analysis for the walls, you get good windows, and the walls meet current energy standards. The heating systems, you have to put heating systems in a new building anywhere. What we do have here is we're in the middle of town. There's land that's in the town. We have the front yard, we have the backyard, we have parking. We're here. Once this is gone, it's gone. And where else are we gonna go? So I believe exceptions.
I got Don Irving. Was there anyone else that was gonna yield time to you?
John Irving, 49 Highland. David referred to the letter that was sent to the councilors, we dated June 12th. And because so many people signed on to the letter, we thought that I should read it into the record of this meeting, even though you all have probably seen it already. Dear councilors, we thank the town leaders for hiring a consultant to study town hall and what the future needs would be for our town offices. We appreciate the full and comprehensive review of the challenges of the existing town hall. At this point, many of us feel it would be important to look more fully at creative options for renovating it. We believe that with the decision this large, a second opinion is called for beyond that of Port City architects. Based on discussions with several experienced architects and contractors, we believe the estimate of 10.5 million for renovations was on the extremely high end of the spectrum. Among some of the issues that led to this overly expensive estimate, the consultants calculated the cost of renovating a 20,000 square foot building, which appears to double or triple count stairwell space, elevator space, and structural walls. They did not figure in the income that could be gained by renting a floor. They did not take into account the possibility of renovating only 2 floors and leaving the 3rd floor for the lesser's build up. And did not appear to account for site development costs for the new building option. These are just immediate cost issues. There are also environmental and social issues that must be considered in any comparison of building new versus renovated. Although Anthony Highland of Port City told the building committee in March that, quote, whatever we report to the town, if you disregard the intangibles, it would be a waste of all of our time, end quote. The presentation made to the council on May 23rd included no mention of these intangibles. Comparing the immediate cost of renovating versus building new ignores several important factors in the decision. Once sold, this property will never belong to our town again. To believe that a developer will be constrained by covenants or other agreements is foolhardy, as has been proven by past activity in our town's historic district. Our town does not have the deep pockets nor political will to take on costly litigation against developers, as we have seen from past agreements. The town hall and central school together form the most visible town center, creating a significant green space in the village for community gathering and events. This form of town center shows the town's pride in the school system and its municipal government. People move to South Berwick and love South Berwick for its village center, thus adding to the value of property in town. The tax revenue from added property values cannot be measured, but is certainly substantial. As the town grows, as we know it will, keeping the town hall building under town ownership would ultimately allow its space to grow into new offices. Expanding population density in the northeast and climate migration promises a significant expansion of South Berwick, whether we like it or not. Putting commercial enterprises into the building could bring long-term income to the town until that space is needed for town hall expansion. That lease revenue will offset the tax revenue if the building is sold, and this is a formula that has been used in town halls across New England. When the municipality reinvests in its historic downtown properties, it sends a strong message to local business owners that the town is committed to the success of the village. We believe it is crucial to look more seriously at other options for renovating the existing building as part of a long-term plan for the village, not just through the lens of this moment's budget considerations. A few of the questions that linger after the May 23rd council meeting. First, we heard that the load-bearing walls cannot have holes, and yet that is often done with beams and columns, allowing more flexibility on design. And the question of grants for municipalities, a quick review found at least a few, and significantly, the state legislature passed a law that would allow TIF money to be used for renovating municipal buildings. Could the files that are not used on a day-to-day basis be archived somewhere beside the Class A office space? A portion of the building could be renovated for storage at a lower cost per square foot. Residents have made it clear in the comprehensive plan survey and elsewhere that they treasure our village, they want a walkable center, and they consider environmental issues and green space valuable. The planning decision is consequential, should align with the recommendations of the comprehensive plan. This letter was signed by people we were able to contact in just a few days' time. If we had time to gather more signatures, this list would grow quickly, we're certain. We urge you to get more information about how a renovation may work. We understand that for some, the goal is a new modern building. For so many of us, it is not. And any consultant's report should answer for all of us. Thank you.
Next, Brad Christo.
Hello. Thank you. I first want to thank all those who gave a very thoughtful presentation. This is a very difficult question. It's an either-or question, and I think that what makes it more complicated is how. And the whole concept of renovating is full of complexity and how it might be done, how it might be used. And it doesn't seem as though we've had the opportunity to vet that to the extent that this community needs to make a decision as to whether it's a regulated or not. I mean, clearly, as you've heard, there's a strong indication that people are like, looking renovate. I am of the opinion that I think it would be really helpful if we had a lot more information, a lot more studies. And I'm really curious in listening to the presentation. The building committee was excluded from being involved any further in this process. There was no mention of building. And so my question to you is, why is that?
We're not taking questions this evening, it's just public comment.
Well, then my response to that would be that considering the amount of work the building committee has done over probably 30 years, and was formed specifically to be involved in municipal projects, it's disconcerting to see that building committee is not involved, like it was at the library. I mean, people talked about, well, we need to have the opportunity to vet 5 or 6 architects. We did that. We went through the matrix, and we didn't work just building committee. There were other citizens that were involved with that whole process. Not doing that is, I guess, would lack the opportunity to really explore the options available and to do it in a way that folks in town can be informed to make a constructive and thoughtful decision. Thank you.
Abby Kerwin?
Good evening, Abby Kerwin, 51 Tamarack Lane. I'm here tonight in support of renovating the existing town hall. I don't want to copy a lot of the wonderful comments that have been made tonight. I'm glad that a lot of people showed up. This is an important issue. I'm happy, Madam Chair, that you mentioned data collection and the importance of making evidence and fact-based decisions. I think one of the biggest pieces of data that is lacking so far is we don't have a complete comprehensive assessment of all the properties that the town owns. What space do we have available currently? What's the state of the other buildings that right now the town owns? I think that's part of the bigger puzzle that we need to really do due diligence in making the best decision. I think to not have that piece of information would be negligent. I think it would be fiscally irresponsible to make any kind of decision without having a comprehensive grasp of what the town owns currently and what the needs are for space. So I urge you to, and I appreciate this first of one of many hearings to renovate and reuse the space. I think it's good for local business. I think businesses could come in if we reused and organized this town hall. It has significant historical impact, and it also is with its central location. It links people to their local government. So I think that's vital. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nancy Wessel.
This is brief. I'm in favor of existing this town hall and staying at this location. Wetzel, 39 Benoit.
Sorry, just so, because we're recording this, can you come to the microphone and do that? So it's Nancy, sorry, can you come up to the microphone and say your name and address, just so it's caught on the recording? All right,
Sorry about that.
it's okay.
I'm Nancy Wetzel. I live at 39 Bennett Lot Road.
Thank you. Gary Wetzel?
Gary Wetzel, 39 Bennett Lot Road. I speak in favor of renovating the existing building. Full confession, I worked at the
landscapes of the Hamilton House and the Jewett House for 35 years. And I came to value our historic buildings. I think this falls in that category, and it would be a tragedy to remove any historic building in this town. Thank you.
Here. James Cleary.
I am James Cleary. I live at 1 Back Acres Lane, South Berwick. So I think we should keep and repair the current town hall based on what I've heard so far. Repairs could be prioritized and performed over time, spread out the cost. There should already be funds in the town budget for municipal building maintenance, urgent repairs, and should be performed first, and less important repairs could be incorporated in a long-term maintenance plan. Performing piecemeal repairs in this way, I'm sorry, my phone's glitching. Could result in cost savings over time with different contracts when we have time to go forward with those. My understanding, the heating system is currently being repaired at significant cost, and from my understanding, that was one of the more significant problems with this building. Utilization of this building should be evaluated for optimization going forward, possibly moving offices to the first floor, for example. The town hall bears a significant historical value to the town. I would ask that going forward, as there's more information collected, that it can be tabulated in a simple pros and cons list of both options that are presented so far, without like laboring it down with all the costs, just like pros and cons. A building underutilized is not a reason to sell the building. More space is always better than less. This decision doesn't need to come down to the cheapest of two options either, because both options will incur additional costs to taxpayers. It's just a matter of degree. And I just wanted to say that I've been in and worked in government buildings in worse shape than this one. I think the estimates that we hear should kind of include highs and lows estimates to account for a difficulty in selling at the estimated price that we would expect, building cost overruns in the new building. I think the problems with this building are overblown and don't justify replacing the whole building.
Ken Lesson.
Ken Weston, 19 Spring Street. I just want to thank the council, particularly Councilor James, for having this public hearing early in the process, and Councilor Cook for outlining what the process is so clearly. Thank you. Some of you know me, I'm an architect, most recently at the University of New Hampshire, where I am responsible for planning, design, and construction for the campus. We are frequently in a position where we need to evaluate our existing buildings, our programs, and what would be the best fit for both the program that needs space and the campus. We put equally on both what space will best serve the program, but also how does it fit with the campus as a whole. Our philosophy is first and foremost to renovate. By renovating, we preserve our history, the story of who we were and who we are as an institution. That story, particularly on core campus, creates our identity, our brand. It makes a statement about our character. At the university, we never sell property on our core campus, because to do so would mean losing control of our identity. And I really see this decision for South Berwick's Town Hall through that same lens. Here we are in the core campus of our town, in a building that has character and history, a building that is linked to so many people's lives and sense of place. To lose control of this building is to lose control of our identity as a town. I did a similar assessment a few years back.
for Rochester, New Hampshire. They had outgrown their town offices in the Opera House and were wondering if it made sense to renovate abandoned former fire station next door, demolish it and build new, or move the city offices somewhere else in new construction. The city council wanted to tear down that fire station and build new. We evaluated all of those options at the same time, including various departmental configurations that fit within the footprint of the former fire station, and we evaluated building sites for new construction. Our assessment proved it was the same cost to renovate the historic building. The building was structurally sound, and that's what we did. And yet we leveraged that historic fabric to make unique spaces. We showed off the floor joists. We showed off the rough sawn board sheathing. We salvaged wood boards to make reception desks. We got a state grant to restore the original facade, which was unceremoniously covered in the 1970s. We won an AIA New Hampshire Preservation Award, and I'm not saying that to brag for myself, but the city certainly did brag a lot about that and leverage that publicity. The Chamber of Commerce sponsored the grand opening, and local business owner after local business owner reached out to say thank you for investing in the downtown. It was so important to them that a derelict building was transformed by the city's leadership, proving that the existing building stock has potential for redevelopment. The city council couldn't have been happier in the end. The intangible ROI was immeasurable. There are lots of creative ways to approach renovation.
Are you almost done?
I have one sentence left.
Okay, perfect.
There are lots of creative ways to approach a renovation that are not obvious if your only task is to apply a square foot cost to a gross area. With a creative approach, this building can be renovated at a similar cost to new construction. Renovation will result in a unique project that the community can be invested in and support. Thank you. Thank you for the.
Dan Boyle? No? Okay. John Rudolph?
Good evening, I'm John Rudolph, I live at 126 Old Fields Road. And first of all, I want to say to the council, especially to you, Madam Chairwoman, how much I appreciate the thoroughness of your presentation. I also want to say to everybody here, how much I appreciate everyone's comments, whether I agree with them or not. Been a really wonderful, respectful interchange of ideas. South Berwick is a special place. I think we all agree about that. And one of the things that make it special is its downtown. Mom and dad can drop their kids off at school, go have a cup of coffee, meet a friend, go to the post office, go to the library, come here, pay their taxes or register their car, all in walking distance. This is something that is unique to South Berwick, at least in this part of southern Maine and New Hampshire. There is no other town that I can think of that has a town center that is so complete and offers so many different services. When you start to take those away, then you sap the vitality of the downtown. And so I am strongly in favor of renovating the existing town hall. I also, I complimented your presentation, but I do think there is one thing missing. So if you're looking for data, I think you need to also examine the economic and social and cultural impact of having town hall located here where it is versus moving it someplace else. And I think that those data points will help inform the decision. And I firmly believe, even though I haven't done the analysis, that they will point to keeping the town hall here and keeping it as a central focus of our downtown and of our community at large. Thank you.
Nicole Saint.
Thank you, everybody, for stealing all my good points. But I wanted to
Sorry,
first,
can you say your name and address?
oh, Nicole St. Pierre, 7 Great Works Drive. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. We really appreciate it. And I think this is about commitment to both our town and to our town employees. We want you to work in a place that is appropriate for the work that you do. And we also want to have this space for our town. Like I'm speaking to you from my relationship with the Old Borough Historical Society. We have archives filled with buildings that no longer exist, that were once in this town. Some of them were vital, some of them were not, but once they're gone, they're gone. We know of one that is very close to here that the builder accidentally knocked down during construction. So that historic building no longer exists, and we have very little recourse as a town to rectify that. Once this building is gone, it's gone. As one of the founders of Hot Summer Nights, there are many a rainy night we spent in this very room with children running around, with musicians on the stage. And without this space, where do they go when it rains? Also, back to the Old Borough Historical Society. I don't know if you all know, but this room was once a speakeasy where Charles Lindbergh got off the train and came here and hung out with the people of South Berwick. Then one year it was the USO show and Franklin Delano Roosevelt was there along with Eleanor. We had an air raid and everybody had to get under their tables. The police department gave us the siren. Crazy. So what I'm saying is this is a community space. We're not going to be able to build this in a new place. It's too expensive. It doesn't make sense. It would be a tremendous loss. I understand that there are costs on each side, but as far as I know, I think this building's paid for, isn't it? So we're starting there. It's a paid for property. That counts for something, and it's also part of the spirit of this town. And once we lose it, we have lost control of the whole property. You know, accidents happen. Sometimes it's a wrecking ball that, you know, makes a hit and then it's gone. We can't afford to lose this little treasure. Thank you.
Virginia Zabacki.
Hi, I'm Ginny Sadaki. I live at 74 Goodwin Street. And I would just like to add my 2 cents for renovating this absolutely beautiful historical building. I just love the green in front of it and the Christmas lights, the Christmas on the trees. And thinking about office spaces and condos built here, it's just breaks my heart. I've been here for 23 years and I've had a lot of impact from renovations and it hasn't been good. And I would hate to lose the center of our town, the focal point of our community, all the wonderful festivals that we have and the kids from across the street. I just think it's a very important piece of what brings the community together. And it has a lot of historical value and it's charming and it's having some other focal point here is, it would lose its charm in this beautiful little town. And I just see it piece by piece being taken over the decades I've been here, and it's heart-wrenching. And if I saw this building torn down, it would just be it would be a huge loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie Portrait.
Hi, my name is Carrie Portree and I live at 25 Norton Street in Millertown. My husband and I moved here in December 2020. We really enjoy living here. We both grew up in Rochester and Dover. We've been through South Berwick our whole entire lives. We love the center of town. I support renovating the existing building, preserving the historic value,
I also think that creativity and participatory processes are really important. And not just public comment, but I'm really excited to hear that you are interested in community workshops, community dialogues. I encourage you to look up the term participatory budgeting, participatory decision making. I work for a group called New Hampshire Listens at the University of New Hampshire, and my job is actually to facilitate those types of workshops. I do it for a living. A lot of different community dialogues. I am looking to help provide some volunteer service for town, so please keep me in mind, but I am very much in favor of creativity, preserving this space as a municipal center, so thank you. And I do have a card, if I don't.
Oh, yeah. Stephen, please.
Hi, name's Stephen Portree. I live at 25 Norton Street. And I'd like to thank everybody for participating tonight. It was very informative, and thanks for having this public hearing. I am in favor of renovating the existing town hall. I agree with a lot of the points made tonight about the historical value, and that's all.
All right, I'm at the end of my list. Is there anyone that didn't sign up to speak that would like to? Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Linda Galvin. I live at 46 Dam Road. I actually came into this meeting not ready to speak, but mostly just to listen. Because I really didn't come in with any preconceived notion as to how I felt about whether or not we should renovate or build new. But I have to say there's a lot of points that I found very interesting this evening. But one of which is a data point that you kind of can't collect that's been on YouTube. And that's in terms of history and character. You kind of can't put a number on that. I've grown up in this downtown my whole life, and I'm gonna be honest, as much as part of me really doesn't want to put that kind of money into renovating the town hall, the other part of me can't imagine this downtown without it. And that's just something you can't quantify. And I would very much be in favor of taking another estimate. There are certainly plenty of qualified people in this room that have made presentations that I think are going to help out to give better figures in terms of what it would take to renovate and making more responsible.
Anyone else that didn't have a chance to speak that would like to? No one? Okay. That wraps up this evening's public hearing. Thank you all for your comments. I know that this was a hard question, especially given the limited information we have so far. That's part of why we wanted to have a public hearing now, is just to kind of understand what people are thinking and your thoughts and suggestions. Again, this is going to be an iterative, probably a long process. So thank you all for your patience and understanding, and for the suggestions that you brought to us this evening. And be on the lookout for some of the things that I touched upon as far as ways in which we're planning to keep you guys up to date as to what's happening next. I think just while we're here, I think the next order of business will be, we'll have a council workshop that'll likely be July